Okay, Rabbi Sai, welcome to the DAF. We are holding today in DAF Kuf Yudalit. We're starting the Kuf Yud Gimel on base, the bottom line. The Gemara says, "Hariveya v'anir," but the Mishnah said that if there's an animal who had relations with a human being, so then she cannot bring it to Beis Hamikdash to be a korban. So the Gemara. So the Mishnah said, "How do I know?" Sorry, you can't bring it as a korban. Mimele, if you did a krova outside, you're not chayav al shchuti chutz. Animal that could be a korban. You take it outside. There's a big issue of shchuti chutza, halos chutza pra. Oh, when we're talking about something which is now roy loyal moyed, you don't have a problem with shchuti chutza, halos chutza. So the Mishnah said, "How do we know that?" So the first thing we spoke about the paro and the seir said pesach loyal moyed. You can't don't bring it to pesach loyal moyed. What about Revev and nearby? So we have a nearby, we learn from the pasuk that says, "Lifnei mishkan Hashem, kol shein yoravu lavo lifnei mishkan Hashem." A different pasuk says the Gemara, "V'anami table pesach." Why do we learn from the same pasuk? It's not supposed to go pesach moed. I have to say the word lifnei Hashem. Says the Gemara, "I've covered down and without on top." Bishul Revev and nearby, mishkachas leidak dishinu mi koro v'hodorovu. Tell you what happened. It was a perfect animal. Revev and nearby was a perfect animal. Heidish had a good yichus. Was good to be ready on the mizbech. And then, after the hekdesh, then it went bad and had relations with human beings. So first the kaddish was royal level pesach al. It was royal, but then it went bad. So I need a special person to tell you that if it was originally okay and then it went bad, you're not chayav as shchutichutz. Hello, muktzeh v'nevod. What are you talking about? Muktzeh? Muktzeh means it was designated for the zar. Nevin means it was worshipped for the zar. How does it become also? So Gemara now is asking the following: if it was already muktzeh v'nevod before it became kodesh, so from the beginning it wasn't right to be a korban, so it's not pesach al moed. Now that's the original pasuk. It's called sheni roy love of pesach al moed. I didn't think it's not right to come to pesach al moed because as it started, it was already bad. It was already avodah zarah, the animal.
Before he was revealed, it was already
Not revealed. More is revealed anybody understanding more. What about muktzeh v'nevod? Muktzeh v'nevod is designated for the zara or worship of the zara. So if it was before it became kodesh, so it was never right. So I already know that's a pesach al moed. Elamai was after it won't become a zara because it doesn't belong to you. I can't take Shmerel's animal and make it a zara. It's not yours. So I can't take kodesh animal and make it a zara. It says ain't no oiser double shur shul. It's not in. That is. It says it will be kochu kalim believe the base segli. We talk about kochu kalim. What's a kochu kalim? Kochu kalim is meaning we talk about shlomim and toido. It's good to be kochu kalim. Kochu kalim according to base segli does belong to you. You're the owner, and because you're the owner, you can make with it whatever you want. Homa kochu kalim moen bailim who. He learns kochu kalim belongs to the owner. Tanu maalo moal ba'ashem. The Rabbis kochu kalim shevamoinu di b'Rabbi segli. It says Mehilo. Kalim Mehilo talks about when a person goes and denies money that belongs to it denies money, so then he's chayav. But it needs to be said that belongs to somebody. What about kodesh? No. So basically, kochu kalim, yes, because kochu kalim is it does belong to a person. Right? Koifer. So koifer boy. Okay. Ilkach Riveya. So now the more summarizes the case of a Mishnah. Riveya v'nirbo dovar erva. So if I have a kotshim, person made a Riveya v'nirbo, it's erva. It makes the kotshim not roy. Muktzeh v'nevod. Muktzeh means designated for the zara. Nevod worship for the zara. Amas kachavim. It makes it wrong because it does work bekotchu kalim. Bekotchu kalim. Esther mechir. Esther means you paying for a zoina with an animal. Mechir is you're replacing a dog. So there, the kilaim, if it's a mixed breed. Yoitze doifen, which is born cesarean. What are you going to talk about in these cases? So kilaim yoitze doifen was born that way. Right? That's the only way. Muktzeh mechir, you can give esel mechir even if it's kodesh kali, even according to Beis Segel. Tais points out over here on the top of the Amud, the special pasuk says that when you want to go and use it for something appropriate, either for a zayin or for a dog, it doesn't work if it's kosher. So it doesn't work. What's the problem? It has to be that it was done before it became kosher. If it's done before it became kosher, I have already a pasuk for it before. So what are we talking about? Says the Gemara, Bivlodos Kachim. Think about Bivlodos Kachim. Kachim that were born this way. So then all these cases apply. It was either born Kilayim or Yetzedai. If it was born mixed breed or cesarean, or was born after it was designated to be payment for a Zaina. And he holds that when does a Vlad Kodesh become Kodesh? Only once it was born. Before it was born, it's not Kodesh. So when it was in the womb of the mother, you could use it as a payment for a Zaina. And it becomes a Estan. And then it's born, it becomes also. It's not Lo Yifnei Hashem because it came from a mother who was Kodesh. So that it did start his pathway right. But it was never considered to be something, but it does chal on it because it then the Vlad itself doesn't become Kodesh until it's born. So that's the case. I need a special person to tell me that it won't have the din of regular kosher. So we have in the Mishnah 3 cases that come la'achar zman, which means we have a machlekes in the Mishnah, something which right now is no good, but it will be good soon. Chachamim say you're not chayav shchut yichut. It's not good right. Comes up Shimon and says, no, you are chayav. Why are you chayav? So says of Shimon because there's a loisase, not chayav chorus, but there is a loisase to do something which is not good now, but will be good later. Mishnah brings 3 cases. One case is mumim oivim, meaning someone, an animal has a blemish, but the blemish will be healed, so eventually it'll be good. Second case is talk about toirim b'nei yoyno. B'nei yoyno, toirim are birds, it's like pigeons and doves, but they become kosher only once they become at a certain age. Before that age, you cannot use them. So they're not right now. They're not used, but they have to mature, and then they become okay. And the last one is oisav esnoi. Oisav esnoi is when you shech the mother, you're not allowed to shech the kid that day. You can shech the next day. So that's right. So balimum oisav esnoi v'chulis is more tzrich. Why did they all 3 cases? Itane balimum mishum demeisi. Balimum is something which is disgraceful. Aval toyim dolim meisi, a bird which just didn't mature. It's not most. Maybe Rabbanan agreed to have Shimon, but there is a loisas. Toirin was never okay and became bad. He just never got to it. So that's as a loisas. They were good and were pushed away. We always learn. We saw them a few times. The niriv and nitche is worse. Something that was good and went bad is worse than something that was never good. Maybe then they'll agree to Shimon that there's a loisas. So we have Shimon, there's no leisase. Both Toirim and Balimumin, the actual body is a problem. Not the animal has no issue. The mother was checked that same day. It's a technical thing. There's the leisase. Look, I tell you, there's a machlekes in all 3 cases. Sha'ar of Shimon says a leisase. My time of Reb Shimon. What is the reason of Reb Shimon that there's a leisase? Where's the leisase? Says the Gemara, it says in the pasuk, don't do what we're doing today. What don't do? The one understands the following. We're talking a little bit of the history of Klal Yisrael that we had in the Mishnah, a little bit of it. What is the history of Klal Yisrael? The history is that Am Yisrael went into Eretz Yisrael, and the first 14 years, they were the Mizbeach was a place called the Gilgal. Gilgal, that's what this Mizbeach was. In those days, there was no Mishkan, no official Mishkan, there was Mizbeach. And in that Mizbeach, as the one says, they did not shecht Korbanos Tzibur. Korbanos Tzibur did not come on the Mizbeach of the Gilgal. Can you get? It was like a bama. It was like a bama. It was really belonged to Tzibur. The only thing you brought in that Tzibur dik, because it was one Mizbeach that was belong, it was only Nedarim and Nedavos, only donations. Stopped. I have to check. I've been going Korban Tomit. I want to check.
It's still the complete Mishkan and everything, the Menorah, the Pesach.
I think it was. I'm not sure about the Menorah. I think it is bad. It's a good child. I don't know. Maybe we'll get to that later. So there was no Korbanos Chayva obligation. I don't know about Tomit, but I have to check that out. But in terms of obligation, it was Chayva. There was no Korbanos Chayva in the Gilgal for 14 years. Only the donations, only the doves, and Darnavas. No Chatas. The Gilgal. Gilgal is the first 14 years after they went into Eretz Yisrael. The Mizbeach was in the Gilgal, And the only thing you brought over there was Nedarim and Nedos.
But the base Mikdash was around.
No, it was always built only 400 years later. But then at 14 years later,
Like-
we get to Mishkan Shiloh. The Mishkan is
How many
built
later, 14?
14 years. They go there, so for 70 years, they're conquering the land. Then 70 years it takes to divide the land. After 14 years, you build Mishkan Shiloh, which Mishnah mentioned. And there in the Mishkan Shiloh it becomes already a full functioning Mishkan for about, I think, 300 years.
After Shiloh.
What? Yes, after Shiloh, it was Noy V'Givon.
What was before Shiva?
Gilgal.
Oh, so Gil. But
That's all about 14 years.
But not the full fledged.
But it wasn't full-fledged, you didn't bring Korbanos Chayv. Now, Shaila is, so what is the one saying right now? During the 14 years that they were in the Midbar, can I bring a Korban Chayv? No. Can I bring it later, after 14 years? Yes, because then Mishkan Shiloh will be built. Oh, so Shaila, they put a sire in that. Okay, it technically how does it work? But it is a temporary problem. It's only now. It's only for now. It will be okay in 14 years, but right now it's not. So what is it now? It's a temporary thing. And there is over there a loisase, loisasu. So Shimon says, you see from here, anytime I have something which right now is no good, but will be good later, there's a loisase. Let's see the more inside. My time with them Shimon. No matter below shlokish, don't call loisasu, don't do kechol shanachosim po ayoim Moshe ben Yisrael. So right now in the midbar we have the Mishkan. We're bringing korbanos. Don't do that in the first 14 years. When you go to Eretz Yisrael, Yashrus takriv. Yashrus means nedarim and nedavos. But each kol yashra beinu. Whatever you want, you can give it. Don't be makriv korban chayva. Gilgal legabe Shiloh. So the years of a Gilgal, when you compare to a Shiloh, mechusas manu. When you're missing that, you don't now roy it. They come to Moshe loy sasu. You have a lot. So Shimon, I see from here, the Torah taught me there's a lot to bring something which right now is no good. If so, when Dav Kuv Yudal on base, Milkadami Luki, you should get markers as well. Because it's a lav. Lav, you get markers on it. Alamo Rav Zera, cost of Mitkuri Lase. Rav Zera said Mitkuri Lase, what? Well, another issue. Another issue. Rashi brings, talking about someone that did Kotchim Bifrim. Two Kotchim did it inside. He gets markers. Rashi brings. Now, for what? For the lav of oyster bezbnoi. Meaning, if someone was makri for the mother, or you shech the mother, and the same day you shech the child, he gets marcus for it. Now, says the Gemara, why is he getting marcus only when he says no? There's another problem. Because you can't bring it today, because the mother was shech today, so I have another problem because lo yirotze. Because lo yirotze, korban which is not appropriate, there's a pasuk that says lo yirotze won't be rotze if you're it's a lav. She get marcus there as well. She got double marcus. So the lo yirotze is nitker leaseh, because it says there's another essay on what? Everything said means whenever you have a lav and the Torah right away says what to do, it tells you don't get marcus for it because the Torah as if says the way you rectify the loitza says by doing this. The classic example is the guy who's stealing. It says don't steal, but if you do steal, the Yeshiva is exhaling. What do you do if you steal? Return it back. So Torah as if says, what's your resolution for stealing? Give it back. It doesn't say what is resolution, get a marcus. That's in general the theory. So lav hanitak leaseh means a lav that the essay came and told the Torah gave you an essay afterwards. So there it says the gabi lo yirotze the essay afterwards is lav hanitak leaseh. So that's what he says. When you take and check inside something which is not roy today, will be roy tomorrow. So you get him. Why is it not roy? Because he says no. You get marcus because he says no. Not because lo yirotze because need kalesing. So the more forget about lo yirotze. What about this marcus? That Shimon just mentioned. We have another issue. Lo yisasu. This doesn't have an essay. So she get marcus for it. That's the one that says Allah Muhammad. What did Isaiah say? Akos of nitkala say that the lav the lo yirotze nitkala say. But what about the other lav? Says the Gemara. Ani mili le'abanan. That's good to Rabbanan. I won't disagree with him, Shimon. They don't agree with his lois. Now, Shimon Achinami, according to Shimon, you will get marcus for it. Now, on my pnim, the Gilgal, get marcus for the lava loisas. You have it to 11. Someone who takes oyster and checked it inside, according to the Gemara, is this and this answer. We get 2 marks.
Which one?
Oyster is no and loisas. Says the Gemara.
What's the other lav? You get what?
Oyster is no.
Without Malchus, the other lav. What do you get?
Nothing. It's essay. You don't get anything. When you have a lavitic essay, you only do the essay or nothing. It's either. Says the Gemara, I'm not ready to go on my another answer. So I'll tell you what. Loisasun is what? Don't shecht your korbanos chayva during the 14 years that you're in the Gilgal. And if you do, you're over loisasek. You do weird. The Gilgal is not considered to be, as you guys mentioned, the Gilgal, there's no Mishkan.
Right.
So the Gilgal is considered to be outside. So yes, there's a loisasek to be marketed outside the base of Mishkan, but not in the Mishkan, not in the Oil Moed. Once you bring it inside the Oil Moed, there's no Malchus. Because the Malchus applies only outside. It says don't bring it to the Gilgal. The Gilgal is called outside. Gilgal to the Geshil Kichutz Dani. Rabbi Omar, time the reason of Shiv is different. Pesach, Bibamas Yochid, Bishas Iftur Habamos Shubulai says. How do you know someone takes Korban Pesach and he goes to a Bamas Yochid Bishas Iftur Bamas? Meaning, the Gemara understands right now, it means the times when you're not allowed to have Bamas. Like today. He goes to his Korban Pesach in a regular backyard, he's a loisas. He can't do Pesach wherever you want. Could it be when you're allowed to use the bombs, it should be also usher? When you have a location, a central location to be korbanis, like the Beis Hamikdash, then you have a issue to do it outside. But if you don't have a central location, you could do it outside. Something more Amos. What exactly we're talking about that he's doing it outside? Meaning in the regular time Pesach. Talking that your regular Beis Hamikdash is built. This Pesach, Beis Hashem, will be Hamikdash will build, and someone after Chatzois takes his Korban Pesach and decides to do it in the backyard. It's too crowded. I can't take it anymore. It's too crowded. That's a classic shchuti chutz. Yeah, we take a korban outside. Elalav, what do you have to say? Koydim Chatzois. Before Chatzois, so what do you see over here? You see over here Mechusar Zman, something which eventually will be Roi. Should after Chatzois. What happens to it before Chatzois? It is not Roi yet. So what is it? You have a lav. You see from Shiva, you have a lav. There's something which is didn't the time didn't come yet. Say one, no, I don't like that. So Loi Lach Chatzois. Talk about after Chatzois. After Chatzois is a chorus. No, B'shas Hesa Bobas Kai. We talk about now when you have a Beis Hamikdash. There's no Beis Hamikdash. Talk about the time before Beis Hamikdash. In the time of Noiv Givon, for example, or the time of Gilgal. Says the Gemara about B'shas Isur Bomas Kama. You just said Isur Bomas. You just said that's what the Brayta said. Says the Gemara Isur Boma Loi Heter Boma Lechaveru. Is Isur Boma for this korban, Heter Boma for another korban? Meaning, we're talking about before Chatzois. What happens before Chatzois? Before Chatzois, you have allowed to put on a Bomas Yochid, Shlamim, oil, maybe not, because oil as well, and Toida. You could do that, or any donations you could do before Chatzois. So he's saying like this, we're talking about now, in a time where you do have a chayva, there is a bama, but the bama is only for some karbanos, not for the other karbanos. Let's see Loshon Rashi inside. Shazesa abamas towards the end of the narrow lines. Kemoy begilgul v'noy v'given. Remember gilgul noy v'given. The huchu bamos yachid leoila. There is a bamos yachid leoila v'shlamim. V'shvinin kol gabi chayvos. Ikaloi says now I'll do chayva. V'lam mishu b'chutz zman. Da chazu hashto b'magdayla. Also b'ma carbon loyal carbon zeh. Oto b'ma lechavei loyal v'shlamim. Just to end the Rashi, then we'll see it said, "V'sevi achikama yachol b'shas shu mutu b'bom koydu chatzoy shu l'shlamim shaychad b'magdoy l'shkat b'Yisrael." Meaning, when you have even Gilgal, you're now going to do chayvus of chatos. A korban Pesach we always had. So where do you bring korban Pesach, which is a chayva? Where do you bring it? You always have to bring it to the central location.
Okay.
So even though you're not Beis Hamikdash and you have a back in your backyard, your own bama, everybody has their own bama, that's regarding the Darwin and Davis. That's regarding when you're talking about Korban Pesach, that's what you could do. But we're talking about Chayvis, So let's talk about Nidor and Davis. Talk about your Shlomim. Talk about your Oila. But for Pesach, you can't bring. So that's what the Bryce says. The Bryce.
You don't bring it to the Galgal?
You bring it to the Gilgal.
Right.
Oh, that's what it says. That's what it says. Go back to the Bryce. A few lines back. Just see how you see it inside. Someone who does come in Pesach in the time of Easter Bomas, not the time of Samigdush. In the time where I have a Bomas Yochid and a Bomas Tzibur, I have a private Bama and a public Bama. How do you know the Korban Pesach cannot be Mikro in the private Bama? Shubel Loisase, have a lot. Tomod Loima Loisucha Lizboach Esa Pesach. Says a lot of Loisucha Lizboach Pesach. What about before Chatzois? What happens to Pesach before Chatzois? We learned it earlier in the Masechta. It's a Shlamim. So meaning in the time that you have Bama Gdoilu, Bama Ktana, meaning a private Bama and a public Bama, so then Pesach you can't do, but other components you could do. That's what we're talking about. So there's no loisase of B'chus Zman. There's no B'chus Zman. You can bring it right now to the Gilgal. Which is not, before Chatzos is not a Pesach, and after Chatzos you have a Bama Gdoilu. That's why you have a loisase. But when you're doing it before the time, maybe there's no loisase. The more is doicha, the source of Reb Shimon. So we're going to try to bring two different sources according to Reb Shimon to have a loisase, and the Gemara asks questions on that. Okay, let's see it. Two, three more lines, and then we'll end today. Mechutz Zman. So the Gemara, the Mishnah brought later. The Mishnah said that by a mitzvah, we have a before we get to mitzvah. Says here the Mishnah is interesting. At this stage of the Mishnah had a girsa that said Hazov ve'Hazov ve'Yolevis. That's a mitzvah. It says it like this. Chatos and Asham Bachutz before the time they're put, which means so for Azov, they need to bring Chatos, Korban Chatos, and they have to also bring a Oila. We'll see in a moment a Shlamim. Let's say they have to bring Korbanos. The Korbanos there, and they have to bring it when? So Azov is after the 8th day, after they counted 7 days of Tahara, comes the 8th day, they bring the Korbanos. If you brought it too early, meaning he brought a chatos not on the 8th day, on the 4th day, he did it outside, he's not chayav because it's not roy to al-moed. I can't bring to al-moed, you have to bring to the 8th day. But what about oila? An oila on the 4th day? Oila the 4th day does work. Not for what he needs. He needs to bring one on the 8th day. You can bring an oila any day you want. Oila, you can bring a donation whatever you want. So the Mishnah is like this. The korban is that you must do on the 8th day and not before. There's no such thing. If you did it outside, you're not chayav. The korban is that you could do even today. If you brought it outside, you're chayav. So the Mishnah says, we mentioned Zav, Zava, and Yoledis. And we said that the Chatos and Asham, you can't bring it until the 8th day. Says the Gemara, V'ani b'nei Asham. But still, Chatos, I understand. There's no Asham by a Zav and a Zav and Yoledis. Yeah, you're right. Add the word Mitzayra to the Girsa. Mitzayra does have Ash. We already learned that we spoke about Ash Mitzayra earlier in the Masech. Oil Sam Shlamim, the brother Oil Shlamim, before the 8th day they're Chaya because then you couldn't donate. V'ani b'nei Shlamim, don't bring Shlamim anyway. Zav is Zav and Yoledis brings only, and even Mitzayra, to bring a Oila and a Chatos and maybe a Rasham, but not a Shlamim. Shesh is Tani Nozi. I have to add Nozi to the list. The Nozi does bring Shlamim. So what the Zehiri Kavu Tanoi. Zehiri that added Mitzayra to the list, that did add it to the Mishnah. If you open our Mishnah, you will see it says Mitzayra. It did add to the Mishnah. They added in the Mishnah. Yeah, Shesh is Loi Kavu Tanoi. Shesh didn't add to the Mishnah. It doesn't say why. We added to the Girsa of the Gemara, we added the word Mitzayra to the Mishnah. We did not add Nazir, but he tells you out of the Mishnah, you should know Nazir. It doesn't say why, but that's what it's brought down. With this, we'll end the daf today. Shorter daf, but with this, it's a share continue from here tomorrow.
Hey.